Hey, I'm glad you could join us. Today we're going to be talking about how a senior patrol leader or the assistant senior patrol leaders can collaborate on the troop meetings and design a meeting that really fits what's needed for each Tuesday, along with being able to then submit it to me, your scoutmaster, to be able to approve those changes. What we're going to do to collaborate is really using online tools, and we're just going to use Google Docs. So the first thing you need to do is go to docs.google.com. Now, as you may already know, if you don't have access to this, or you may have already been given an email with a link to this file, you have to be given rights to it. So I'll make sure every patrol leader and assistant patrol leader, senior patrol leader, and assistant senior patrol leader has access to this. Once you're at docs.google.com and you've signed in with your Gmail account, then you can simply type in Troop 306 Planner. And when you do that, you're going to get to the spreadsheet. Click on that and it'll come up. Now the first tab is really just a template, and it is what it says. It's a blank template down here in the bottom, and that is where we're going to first go. This is what you have. First step. Don't forget to do this, otherwise it messes up the original. We are going to say duplicate. When you duplicate, that creates another tab at the bottom. Now we want to rename it, and we're just going to pick the date of the upcoming troop meeting. We're going to say this is way in the future, 11/14 of 2018. So with that, we go 11/14 2018, also up here in the second row. Now I'm ready to start editing. The beautiful thing about this template is it's based on Scouting's recommendations for an hour-and-a-half troop meeting. The guidelines are to have an opening ceremony, then some kind of patrol meeting, a skill or instruction in something new, an inter-patrol activity, and then a closing. I've included some areas for after the meeting and for the opening before the meeting. Now the way I've designed this is the times on the far right really give you specifically when it starts and when it ends. So as you fill in how long something's going to take, say 10 minutes in column B, it automatically adjusts the time in column I and K, which is very, very handy because we can play around with the timing of various events until we get the on paper the meeting to end at the appropriate time, say 8:30. But before we do that, let's first fill it in with content. Now, one thing about Google Spreadsheets, when you're entering inside of a cell, it is important to note if you hit enter, it takes you to the next cell. If you want a new line inside of that, you have to hit Control Enter. And I'll illustrate this way. For our opening ceremony, we're mostly always going to start out with the flags and pledge. I want to create several things that are part of the opening of the troop meeting. So I hit Control Enter, and the second thing I want to do is announcements. Announcements. And these are announcements of upcoming events. Typically, we want to talk about the month's activities that are coming up, and maybe even a little bit into the next month, depending on where it is. Get the scouts thinking about what's coming up. Again, Control Enter. And the third item is maybe we're getting ready to sell popcorn, or we're wrapping up selling popcorn in November. So we would say popcorn update, and we might have some contests or something around that. Control Enter again. And the fourth item, we want to talk about a service project, especially for the end of the year. And that would be a service project for Secret Santa family type thing. So there we go. Now when I look at this, that's going to take a little bit of time to go through all that, get everyone together and all those kind of things. So I can say that, oh, and I forgot the most important, well, not really most important, but let's do a Scoutmaster minute here at the beginning. So that could be a couple hours worth of time there. So this overall, we're going to say 15 minutes. Now we want the patrols to break in and do something. First thing, probably attendance. Second thing, we want them to start preparing for maybe a camp out coming up this weekend. So camp out, or in 2 weeks, let's say camp out, meal planning. And that's where the patrol leaders are going to need to figure out, hey, that's going to take a little bit of time. They need to write this down. They really need to record it. We're going to say 20 minutes for that. Realize you need to plan on a little time for them to separate and come back together. While we're on that, we should also go ahead and say, who's going to be in charge of that? Well, it's going to be the SPL to say it's time to start, and the patrol leaders. Back here on announcements, that's going to be mostly the SPL, and I think somewhat the Scoutmaster, because I have a Scoutmaster minute in there. Now you can see we're already up to 7:35. We only have 55 minutes left. So what's our new skill that we're going to learn? Every troop meeting should have some tidbit of knowledge. It may be through a merit badge, and we don't do a lot here because we're working on a merit badge. Or the merit badge may be not related, and we want to teach something new or something. Whatever the case may be. I'm just going to put, you know what, 2 new knots. Senior patrol leader can pick whatever he wants, and if maybe there's an adult that's exceptionally good at this, or maybe the senior patrol leader's father or mother could come in and teach it. Don't hesitate, SPL, to find someone else to do this. You don't have to do it all. Find the expert and bring them in. But it is the responsibility of the SPL to make it happen and to organize it. That's called leadership. And when you do that, you know, depending on the involvement, let's say for this one though, we're just going to show them, pass out a rope so that everybody can have a turn, and then practice it briefly in their hands. And it's fairly simple. Maybe it's basic knots for the newer scouts people to understand. 10 minutes, and then we're going to be done. Now then, it's time for the whole troop to work together on something. This may be a little competition. Let's say a competition by patrols. And you could, of course, put more detail in here, but for the sake of the video. And this is going to be the SPL, the PL, and some adult supervisors, just to oversee the activities. Now, when I look at this, I know the closing is going to take about 10 minutes. We'll talk about what we want in there. As you can see, we need to go to 8:30, so I can start playing with this. Maybe there's a few activities and a few other games, but really it looks like we need to take about 25 minutes in order to fill the rest of the time. 25, maybe even 30 minutes. And 30 minutes isn't too bad to be outside and to work on other activities. But I can tell you by this, 30 minutes is too long to be spending on just some knot game, probably. So this, as a senior patrol leader, I would look at and go, you know what? We need a little bit more. So yeah, let's do the knot competition as one area, but let's also work on the Christmas gift and thank you cards as service. And maybe that's something we're going to put together, some specific ones of adults that have helped for the past year. And this is a great place to do it. So it's not just about games, and it doesn't just have to be the new skill. It's also about service. So now we've got it down to that. And as you can see here, we're only finishing about 5 minutes early. And I can tell you from experience, when you plan these out, you tend to run over a little bit, not under. So finally, we wrap it up. Well, what are we going to do? We're going to recap the announcements, and we want to thank any visitors. We may have some special visitors or something. We're getting to know them. 3, and we also want to announce any advancements. Because we're invariably going to have some Scoutmaster minutes and border reviews, and somebody's probably going to advance. So let's recognize them. And then finally, last but not least, you know, the Scout closing with the Scout law, or whatever it's going to be. And you can put it in there. 10 minutes, boom. There's also a place for after the meeting. Hey, I want to meet as a Scoutmaster. I might put this in and tell your parents, this is going, oh, I should put this as the SPL. This is the Scoutmaster and the SPL, and we're going to meet to discuss next 2 weeks of activities. There's a lot coming up in the next 2 weeks. Let's discuss it, and let's just take 15 minutes, nail it down of what everyone's responsible for, and then we can go from there. Same thing before. It's my expectation that senior patrol leaders are there at least 15 minutes before, but I would like to see about 20 to 25, but we'll put 20. And here you're going to set up and finalize plans with patrol leaders, and that's going to be your SPL, your patrol leaders, your ASPLs, and your Scoutmaster, and any special adults that may be something. This is a really good place that if you need to remember to pick up supplies, or you need to tell me, the Scoutmaster, hey, I also need some paper clips, hot glue gun, and markers, we can put it in there, and it's a good way to have as a checklist of things that make sure we have, and everybody can check for it. When you're done, you've got it, you can send me an email letting me know to review it before Tuesday, preferably the weekend or sometime over the weekend I can look at it. And then finally, before you come to the Scouts, you can actually tell it to print off a copy. You'll say you'll want it to fit to the page, and you'll want it in portrait mode. I do not set up any grid lines when I go to print, and then you print it. If you print it from your computer, in this case, then what it actually does is creates a PDF. And as you can see here, you have a nice PDF. You can print it out at home, bring it with you, and you have a hard copy and something you can write on, take notes on. And you know what? The other thing I like, I've seen a few of our SPLs take a look at this, and they write in things that they would do different next time. So they've got that written record of what they would do. So now you have a little bit of idea. When you are done, you can simply close this out. You can go back and click here and go back to your main sheets, or you can simply just go to another website. I know your favorite website, of course, would be troop306avon.com. Don't forget, when you are planning, make special note of the upcoming events that are coming up, and just make sure you highlight those at every meeting. It's part of your obligation as a leader in the troop to make sure folks are communicated and know what they need to go to. Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate your leadership. Appreciate you being in this position and taking it seriously, and especially your planning. Every minute that you spend planning the meeting makes it go much better on the other side. Have a good day.